Okay, welcome back. On this deep dive, we're tackling a question that I think keeps a lot of people up at night. How do you make sure the wealth you build actually lasts?
Yeah, not just for you, but, for generations down the line.
Exactly. We've done a deep dive into an excerpt from a source that specifically discussed this challenge of why wealth often doesn't survive the grandkids.
It's a pattern that's just so common, isn't it? It's captured in that old saying, shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations.
Right.
And the source we look at, it really went right into this, explained how, the first generation often starts from, well, nothing, builds the wealth through hard work.
The grind.
Yeah. Then the second generation, they might inherit it, maybe maintain it, perhaps even expand it a bit. But then, boom, by the third generation,
It's often gone. Back to square one, back to shirt sleeves. So the mission for this deep dive is to really unpack that saying. Why is this pattern so prevalent? Why does wealth fail to last? And, maybe more importantly, what did this source say families can actually do about it? How can they beat those odds?
precisely. And our source identified a few critical reasons for this failure. The first one it really hammered home was a significant lack of financial education in those later generations.
That makes so much sense, doesn't it? The first generation, they learned about money by, well, literally creating it from scratch. They understood the value of every dollar through pure sweat equity.
That's it. And the source pointed out that for the later generations, especially that third one who, grew up with wealth already there,
Right.
they often lack that direct experience, that sort of visceral understanding of the struggle and the discipline it took to build it in the first place. They might get investing conceptually, maybe.
But not the context.
Exactly. The context and, frankly, the respect for the capital itself that the founders had.
Okay, so it's deeper than just technical know-how. It's rooted in that lived experience. What else did the source flag?
Well, coupled with that, the source stressed the um, frequent absence of a formal, really comprehensive wealth transfer plan. And it's not just about having, like, a basic will.
Ah, okay. So something much more thought out, like a real strategy for how the wealth passes down, how it's managed, maybe even spelling out the intentions behind it.
Exactly that. Beyond just the legal nuts and bolts like wills or trusts, it's the lack of a clear, communicated plan for the wealth's purpose and its distribution across the generations.
Hmm.
And the third crucial factor mentioned, this one's maybe the toughest, the absence of shared family values around money, purpose, and responsibility.
Ah, yeah. Because without that common ground, that shared understanding, wealth can easily become, what, a source of conflict or
Yep.
division.
Or entitlement even. Instead of being a tool for shared goals, that was a key insight from the source. Without that alignment on values, without a clear understanding of the wealth's purpose within the family, it's just far less likely to stick around.
Okay, so the diagnosis is pretty clear then. A lack of that deep financial understanding. No real comprehensive plan, and no shared values anchoring it all. That does paint a bit of a tough picture.
It does.
But our deep dive into this source, it wasn't all doom and gloom, right? It did offer some concrete strategies for families who want to break that cycle. What did it suggest?
Yeah, definitely. The source outlined several practical steps. Top of the list was proactive financial literacy education, starting early, making it ongoing.
Not just a one-off talk.
No. It emphasized teaching the next generation not just about money, but really getting them involved, helping them understand its origin, how it's managed, its potential impact.
So involving them in the actual process, giving them some of that context that the first generation had naturally.
Right. And it also highlighted the absolute necessity of putting those structural and legal tools firmly in place.
The wills,
Ah.
the trusts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well-designed wills, trusts, insurance strategies, they're vital. Not just for tax efficiency, which is important, but for clarity and control over how assets are actually transferred and managed down the line.
Yeah, less ambiguity means fewer fights later, presumably.
Absolutely. And perhaps most fundamentally, the source strongly advocated for holding regular family meetings.
Okay, not just looking at spreadsheets together.
Not at all. This is about fostering genuinely open communication about money, discussing the family's history with wealth, talking about its current purpose, and really trying to instill a sense of shared responsibility for its future.
Getting everyone on the same page, understanding the why behind the wealth together, that makes sense.
Precisely. The source really emphasized the importance of aligning the family's wealth with its core values and a long-term vision.
Ah.
When money is seen not just as something to be spent or, piled up, but as a tool to serve a greater purpose, to facilitate shared goals, maybe build a lasting legacy, That's when it stands the best chance of enduring.
So giving the money meaning beyond the numbers.
That's the key. When money has meaning, it's much more likely to last.
Okay, so let's summarize our deep dive into this excerpt. The core reasons wealth often fails across generations seem to boil down to, one, a lack of that practical and contextual financial understanding.
Right. Two, the absence of a clear, comprehensive wealth transfer plan.
And three, crucially, that disconnect in shared family values and purpose regarding the wealth itself.
And the path suggested by the source to beat those odds. It involves intentional financial education, implementing robust legal and financial structures.
Like the trusts and wills.
Yep. Fostering open, ongoing dialogue, probably through those family meetings, and ensuring the wealth is fundamentally tied to meaningful values and a shared, purposeful vision for the future.
It really brings it back to something deeper than just the balance sheet, doesn't it? The source leaves us with a pretty powerful thought, I think. The ultimate challenge isn't just building the wealth in the first place.
No, it's building a legacy that the next generations are actually equipped and, importantly, inspired to carry forward. It really makes you think about the crucial conversations that might be missing in many families.
So here's the challenge for you, our listener, drawn straight from this deep dive. What conversation about money, about purpose, and about responsibility could you maybe start with your family today?